The hardest part about giving a Dvar Torah or a shiur is finding which topic you want to talk about. And when looking at Parashat Tazria, one pasuk jumped out at me straight away, tucked in almost parenthetically between the whole mitzvah of Tumat Yoledet at the beginning of the parsha. The pasuk says, "Uvayom hashmini yimol basar orlato." Being a mohel, obviously, that pasuk jumped out at me as an important topic to focus on. And obviously the question is, why does the Torah see a need to repeat this mitzvah again? We learned already from Avraham Avinu, we know about the importance of Brit Milah. Why does the Torah have to repeat, parenthetically here, Uvayom hashmini yimol basar orlato? Not all the mitzvah that are mentioned before Matan Torah are repeated again after Matan Torah. And the Gemara actually learns out a few important halachas from the repetition of this pasuk now, of the mitzvah of Milah. We're not going to go into them all, but just the Gemara Masechet Shabbos, Kuf Lamed Gimel, Kuf Lamed Daled, mentions, for example, that if there's tzarat on the Ivar, even though there's an isur of cutting tzarat, Brit Milah is doche. The Gemara learns out, Bayom v'lo balayla, we don't do bris at night. And the Gemara learns out that Brit Milah is doche Shabbat. Now, Brit Milah doche Shabbat, that we all know, considering if it's a normal birth, not a C-section, not a cesarean section. But there's another part of Brit Milah which is doche Shabbat. And this is very strange. The Gemara says, Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer, Marchitzim et hakatan b'yom hashlishi shechal liot b'Shabbat, shenemar vayi b'yom hashlishi v'yotam ko'avim. The Gemara says not only can you do a bris on Shabbos, but on the third day after the bris, you can even warm up water and give the baby a bath on Shabbat. According to Maskana of the Gemara, even if you can heat up the water on Shabbat. Now, what's so difficult at the third day? And people often ask me this when I come to discuss about the bris or give them hanchayot after the bris, instructions after the bris. People ask me, so the third day is going to be really painful for the baby, correct? And the truth is no, it's not. But the Mishnah says you can even heat up water on Shabbos because the third day is a sakana. And we know the story of Shem, how on the third day, biotam ko'avim, that was when Shimon and Levi came in and attacked the city. So how can you say the third day is not painful? Yet I see the third day is not any more painful. In fact, the first few hours maybe are more critical. Third day, baby's long forgotten the bris. So what's going on over here? What's going on with this third day? The Gemara offers one possible explanation, that adults, perhaps on the third day, it's still very painful, which is what happened with the story in Shechem. But for children, especially 8 days old, they heal very quickly, and the third day is not a problem. But that doesn't answer the Mishnah, because the Mishnah says you can heat up water for the baby on the third day. Marchitzin et hakatan. So that still doesn't answer our question. I came across a very interesting article by Dr. Cyril Fine, who was a mohel, a doctor, and a mohel for many years. And he proposed the following. He says, let's look at another part of Brit Milah. Another part is the mitzvah of metzitza, without going to the whole machloket, metzitza b'peh or not b'peh. But we know there's a mitzvah after doing the bris, there's the chituch, there's the cutting, there's the priyah, folding down the skin, and the metzitza, sucking out the blood. And he says, what's the reason for this? And then also the Gemara just says, mishum sakana. So we have metzitza is sakana, and the third day is sakana. What is the sakana? So Dr. Fine proposes something very interesting. He says, back in the day, what did they use for brisses? We know Tzipora, for example, used tzor, a bit of stone, a sharp stone. They might have used glass. They definitely didn't have sterilization. They definitely didn't have sterile equipment. And what happens if you use a stone for a bris? A bit of shards of stone might fall into the wound, sand might fall into the wound, or even not, even if you use a knife, an unsterile knife, there could be zihum, there could be infection going on. And how long does it take for an infection to develop? Says Dr. Fine, it could take up to 72 hours, 3 days. 3 days for an infection to be a full-blown infection. And if that's the case, we can understand why Yom HaShlishi B'yotam Koavim is a sakana on the 3rd day. And he says that can also explain to us the importance of metzitza. If you do metzitza straight after the bris, it draws out any foreign objects. If there was any sand, any bits of stone, something that fell into the bris, you draw out those objects to prevent any kind of zihum, any kind of infection going on here. And an interesting side point that he mentions, Avram Avinu, we all know in Parshat Vayera, he was sitting there, kechom hayom, and Chazal say it was the 3rd day after the bris. It was the most painful day. Kechom hayom, says Dr. Fein. It doesn't say the day was hot. He says Avraham was hot. Kechom hayom. Perhaps Avraham had a fever. Perhaps Avraham had some infection on that 3rd day, and he felt kechom hayom, and that would fit in very well with his theory. So here we see an interesting case of where medicine, science, and halacha can fit together, can go well together. And by the way, we also, another advantage, another benefit is that we see, we focus on Brit Milah, Dafka at this time, in these days of Corona, where there are voices who say, maybe no bris, maybe push off bris, we should carry on doing brises with all the right precautions, Baruch Hashem, and we should be zoche to Hashem's protection as ot brit beni uvenechem. Shabbat shalom.